Every war has its icons. For the American soldier in the jungles of Vietnam, no weapon was more vital, more feared, or more universally cursed than the M60 machine gun. It was the very definition of devastating firepower. When it roared, it delivered a torrent of 7.62mm rounds, capable of splitting the jungle and breaking an enemy advance. In the most desperate moments of a firefight, the M60 was the lifeline, the sound of salvation. It was the star of every Hollywood film. It became the symbol of American military might in the latter half of the 20th century. It was, without a doubt, a legend. But the American soldier, the person who had to carry it, clean it, and rely on it, gave it a different name. They called it, quite simply, the pig. Why would a weapon that saved so many lives, a weapon celebrated in cinema and history books, earn a nickname that suggested burdensome filth, inefficiency, and excessive appetite? The answer lies not in its ability to fire, but in the catastrophic logistical and design flaws that turned this machine gun into a relentless burden. The M60 was a beast that fought on two fronts, against the enemy and against its own crew. This is the story of the machine gun that needed a sidekick, and why it was the logistical monster of the Vietnam War. The M60 was born from a desire for simplicity. After World War II, the US military wanted to replace several legacy weapons, the Browning automatic rifle, the M1919 machine gun, with one lightweight all-purpose model. The M60 drew heavy inspiration from two sophisticated German weapons, the MG42, renowned for its quick-change barrel system, and the FG42 automatic rifle. The goal was to combine their best features into a modern, air-cooled, belt-fed system. It was ambitious, and it failed on one critical metric: weight. At 23 pounds unloaded, the M60 was not inherently heavier than some of its predecessors, but its complexity multiplied the burden. The core problem was that every system designed to make it reliable in theory made it a monster in the field. The official military manual nicknamed it the pig because of its overall appearance, a chunky, blocky weapon that seemed to eat everything. But the soldier's nickname went deeper. A pig is burdensome, a pig is gluttonous, a pig is dirty, and the M60 was all three. The logistical realities of carrying the M60 were crushing. The gunner didn't just carry the 23 pounds of metal, they carried the tripod, spare parts, cleaning kits, and, most crucially, the ammunition. A standard 100-round belt of 7.62 ammunition weighed nearly 7 pounds. A standard loadout for a mission could easily push the gunner's burden to over 60 pounds, concentrated on one man. This crushing weight was the first reason it earned its name. It didn't feel like a tool, it felt like a massive animal you were wrestling through the jungle. The gluttonous appetite of the M60 was twofold. It consumed ammunition at an alarming rate, and it consumed its own parts even faster. First, the simple shooting. The M60's rate of fire was 600 rounds per minute. While devastating, this meant the gunner was constantly running out of belts, forcing the crucial assistant gunner, or AG, to work overtime feeding the pig. The M60 was a weapon that always demanded more. But the catastrophic issue lay in its components, specifically the barrel assembly and the flimsy bipod. In an attempt to mimic the German MG42's efficiency, the M60 was designed with a quick-change barrel, essential for sustained fire. But the American designers made a fatal mistake. They integrated the foregrip and the bipod directly onto the barrel itself. Why was this a problem? When the barrel got too hot from sustained fire and it got hot fast, you had to change it. This required the gunner to be meticulous about finding a piece of insulation or a glove to handle the scorching hot barrel assembly, which was now carrying the integrated bipod. The bipod itself was notoriously cheap and flimsy, bending or snapping under field use. When the barrel was changed, the new barrel took the bipod with it. That meant the gunner's sidekick, the AG, wasn't just grabbing a fresh barrel. They were grabbing a fresh barrel with the bipod attached, adding bulk and difficulty to an already high-stress, dangerous operation. This was the sidekick dynamic at its worst. The M60 was useless without its second man, forcing the AG to carry nearly as much weight as the gunner. Furthermore, the design of the feed tray, the area where the ammunition belt entered, was prone to failure. If the ammunition belt wasn't perfectly aligned, the M60 would pig out, jamming instantly, turning the lifeline into a heavy, inert obstacle at the most critical moment. The final reason for the name the pig was its insatiable need for maintenance, and its tendency to fail in embarrassing and dangerous ways. The M60's receiver and internal mechanisms were complex and difficult to clean under jungle conditions. Mud, dirt, and moisture could quickly foul the system, resulting in the dreaded runaway gun. The runaway gun was the M60's most terrifying flaw. No, it meant the internal mechanisms were so worn or dirty that the gun refused to stop firing once the trigger was pulled, emptying its entire belt until it ran dry or jammed. A complete loss of control. This wasn't just a waste of ammunition, it was a severe danger in close quarters combat. The lack of control extended to assembly. Unlike other field-strippable weapons, the M60 had a dangerous dependency on its parts. Because many of the internal components, like the gas piston, were not interchangeable, losing one piece meant the gun was completely useless. The M60 was extremely sensitive to its precise configuration. The most notorious maintenance issue was the loss of the retaining pin for the barrel assembly. The M60 would sometimes throw this pin out during sustained fire. If the pin was lost, the entire barrel assembly could fly forward off the gun when the next round was fired. A 23-pound weapon suddenly lost its most critical component, potentially injuring the gunner or the AG, and instantly eliminating the unit's main source of suppressing fire. This wasn't a flaw, it was a built-in risk. The soldier's perspective was clear: the weapon was too heavy to carry, too complex to clean, too prone to failure, and required constant attention and resources. It was a chore, a burden, a demanding, gluttonous pig. Despite its flaws, the M60 endured. It stayed in service long after Vietnam because, when it worked, it was lethal. It could take a beating, and its power was undeniable. The military attempted to fix the pig. Variants like the M60E3 were introduced, which significantly reduced the weight and tried to address the flawed bipod and quick-change barrel mechanisms. They engineered solutions to its gluttony and dirtiness, but the core nickname had already been cemented into military history. The legacy of the M60 is a paradox that defines the challenges of military design. The US military prioritized firepower and simplicity of operation over logistics and maintenance, creating a weapon that was brilliant in concept but brutally demanding in reality. The M60 was not a failure of engineering, but a failure of logistics. It demanded a sidekick, it demanded extra parts, it demanded constant cleaning, and it demanded the absolute dedication of the gunner to manage its dangerous idiosyncrasies. And that is why, to the soldiers who had to live with the paradox of having their lives saved by a weapon that constantly threatened to fail them, there was only one fitting name: the pig. It was a machine of legendary firepower, but it carried the weight of its own flawed design. It won the battles, but it lost the fight for the soldiers' respect. The story of the M60 pig is not unique. Throughout military history, we see weapons that are brilliant on the drawing board, only to become logistical disasters in the field. From the complex tracks of the German Tiger tank to the excessive oil requirements of the early M16 rifle, complexity often costs more than its combat value. If the tale of the M60 taught us anything, it's that a weapon's true value is measured not just in its firepower, but in its reliability and the burden it places on the man who carries it. The pig delivered the fire, but it demanded its due. What do you think was the single biggest flaw of the M60? Was it the bipod, the weight, or the danger of the runaway gun? Let me know in the comments below. If you are interested in diving deeper into why logistics always beats firepower, check out our previous video on the German Tiger tank, a similar story of a brilliant weapon failing due to its own demanding nature. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into military history.